Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the presentation of our 2021 awards for research parasitism and research symbiosis. As many of you might know, in 2014, there was sort of a Twitter uproar after the New England Journal of Medicine published an editorial with this phrase: "There's some concern among frontline researchers that the system will be taken over by what some researchers have characterized as research parasites," meaning perhaps computational scientists who reanalyze published data after a study is published, but maybe before the original authors had a chance to do everything they might have wanted to do with the data. And the idea for this award came out of a different point of view, proposed on Twitter as a new science award given to those who use someone else's data to do very cool things. And the awards we're going to present actually are in two different categories. There's a research parasite award for someone who indeed uses someone else's data to do cool science, but also a Symbiont award that's meant to recognize scientists who sort of don't take the point of view that reuse is taking something away from them, but instead see this as another way to excel as scientists, to share data in a transparent way that just furthers the ability of everyone to learn things as quickly as they possibly can, rather than trying to sort of win at the game of doing the most things themselves. So, and we're actually in the spirit of the primacy of this data sharing component, going to present the Research Symbiont Awards first. But first, I just wanted to recognize Casey Green, founder of the Parasite Award, without whom any of this would be possible. Here shown holding up a bunch of our esteemed trophies.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. I'm going to see if I can share my screen now. I'm Brian Bird. I'm a researcher at the University of Michigan and founder of the Research Symbiont Awards. And I'd like to welcome everybody who's joining us from different places around the world for these awards. It's probably very early in the day for some of you and very late in the day for others. And we appreciate your being here to celebrate the 4th Annual Research Symbiont Awards, which honor excellence in the sharing of research data. This year, the Research Symbiont Awards are sponsored by the Wellcome Trust, an organization that I'm sure many of you already know for their broad and creative portfolio of research. We greatly appreciate their sponsorship of this effort, and they are leaders in the realm of open science, and we are extremely excited and humbled to be working with them. And again, this year we have sponsorship from the Dragon Master Foundation, which is a research foundation working to find cures for cancer and other diseases. Without the creative and supportive organizations that help to fund the awards, we would not be able to recognize people in the way that we do. We're very grateful to them. This is the imperial shrimp, which lives in a symbiotic relationship with the sea cucumber, with the sea cucumber providing protection and food for the shrimp, while the shrimp cleans away algae and parasites from the sea cucumber. And it's quite a harmonious relationship, a type of symbiosis called mutualism, in which there is benefit to both parties. But there are also scenarios in nature in which the symbiosis is more unidirectional, and those are equally important in a healthy ecosystem. And in the research ecosystem, it's relatively easy to find examples of data sharing that can be described in terms of mutualism, where each party agrees to some sort of benefit to themselves. What's less common is people sharing research data without regard for whether or not there would be some immediate benefit to them. And it's that type of sharing that we really find special and that has motivated the Research Symbiont Awards. So the Research Symbiont Awards are intended to encourage a shift toward more and better data sharing, allowing others to work to build off of the prior discoveries of a scientific team without a requirement for mutualism or direct benefit to the team that's sharing the data. And there are leaders in this type of data sharing, researchers who share well with a big impact, and we celebrate those people today. There are 2 Research Symbiont Awards given annually. The Early Career Research Symbiont Award is given to an early stage researcher working on health research, and the General Symbiosis Award is given to a more established researcher who's made a significant contribution in terms of data sharing. The criteria for winning either of these awards are essentially the same, with a few differences that are related to career stage. The criteria that are shared by the 2 awards are shown here. The emphasis is on sharing beyond what's typical in your field, sharing in a way that's ethical and that's inviting for people to actually reuse the data in a new way. We look for evidence that people have in fact reused the data, since that's the strongest evidence that the data are meaningful and were shared in a useful way. You can see all these criteria on researchsymbionts.org. For the Early Career Research Symbiont Award winner, there are some additional criteria related to establishing that the data sharing contribution was indeed made at an early career stage, and the winner of the General Symbiosis Award must be an independent investigator. This is the committee with the tough task of judging the nominations. In chairing the committee, I'm joined by a wonderful group. Rebecca Riggins is a professor at Georgetown and has been a perennial supporter of the awards. Leonardo Collado Torres is a prior winner of a Research Symbiont Award, and we're delighted he could join us on the committee this year. You'll soon hear from Fabio Zanini, who also won a Research Symbiont Award. And on the committee, we have Amanda Haddock, president of the Dragon Master Foundation, which has as its mission to find and accelerate cures for cancer and other diseases by fostering and rewarding a community of collaboration and innovation. Because of her tireless work to improve data sharing and collaboration and innovation, she's a personal hero of mine, and she's been a steadfast supporter of the Research Symbiont Awards. She's going to say a few words about the importance of data sharing before she then presents the Early Career Symbiont Award. Amanda?
Wow. Well, thank you for such a kind introduction, Brian. I'm really honored to be here representing Dragon Master Foundation and its donors. We really believe that it's in the best interest of humanity in general and our donors and constituents in particular to share data as rapidly as possible. Data sharing to us represents good stewardship of donor dollars and a commitment to speedy scientific discovery. We're very proud to encourage and reward such sharing through the Research Symbiont Awards, and I'm thrilled to be able to present the Early Career Award today to someone who's made data sharing a priority at a time in their career when it can be most challenging to do. With an eye toward the end user's experience and reproducibility, this postdoctoral fellow truly embodies what this award is about. This year's winner of the Early Career Symbiont Award is Lucas M. Weber, PhD from Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. His work has been influential and has been used by others, as you can see in this paper. And now we have a chance to hear from Dr. Weber himself.
Okay, hi. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to receive this award. I think this is such a wonderful initiative. I think data sharing and reusing is such a crucial part of research. I think it's really great that we have this initiative to support this. So in my next couple of slides, I'll just talk briefly about some of this work that we've done and the data that we shared here. So during my PhD work at the University of Zurich in Switzerland, we worked on methods and benchmarking for analysis of mass cytometry data, or CyTOF data, which is a newer form of flow cytometry or FACS, similar kind of data, measuring a much larger number of proteins per cell than was previously possible, and this required new computational analysis methods. So one of the things that we did was comparing clustering algorithms for identifying cell populations within mass cytometry data. And to do this, we collected a series of nice publicly available data sets with ground truth available in them that we could use to benchmark all the different algorithms that were available at the time. We published that in that paper that I've got there at the top. Some of the results at the top right, we found really interesting results, both in terms of performance and runtime of these different algorithms. Then we took great care to redistribute these data sets afterwards in an accessible form for other users so that they could build on this work for future development work of other algorithms or for other purposes such as examples and demonstrations. We redistributed those data sets through repositories online, and we did see then that people were starting to use them, which was really nice to see. Then in the later part of my PhD, we continued with method development work for differential analyses in CyTOF data. And again, there we developed some semi-simulated data sets where we had manipulated composition within existing data sets from other sources. Again, we redistributed these in a form that we tried to make as accessible as possible for others to continue building on that work. That resulted in that paper at the bottom there. And in the next slide, I've got some links. So yeah, so we created these two flow repository resources containing first the clustering data sets and secondly the differential analysis data sets, and then saw that people were quite quickly starting to cite these and use them for new analyses. And especially that paper there that we had before on the UMAP algorithm, which showed that UMAP works well for visualizing high-dimensional biological data, including mass cytometry. And they had reused exactly these data sets from our flow repository website to demonstrate that on mass cytometry, which was wonderful to see. Then finally, at the end, we collected all these resources and tried to make them even more easily accessible for people by collecting them in a bioconductor package, an R bioconductor package called HD cytodata for high-dimensional cytometry data. We took both the clustering and the differential analysis data sets and formatted them into nice, easily loadable objects within the R system, and also then published another short paper describing this resource. And again, now we've seen that that package has been getting quite a few downloads, people using these data sets for their method development and examples, demonstrations, and so on. Yeah, so that was a really wonderful experience to see that we could contribute to other work by completely unrelated groups, just reusing these data sets that we had thought were really nice data sets to use and then redistributed in these forms. And then next slide, yeah, and so with that, I'd really like to thank my PhD supervisor at the time, Mark Robinson, University of Zurich in Switzerland, and also Charlotte Sorensen, who was a senior postdoc in our group at the time and is now at the Friedrich Miescher Institute, also in Switzerland. And of course, thank you to the organizers and the sponsors of this wonderful initiative.
Thank you, Lucas, and thank you for taking us through the work that you did. This is really a shining example of leadership and showing what can be done when you enable other people in their research. And I really hope other early career researchers will take up the mantle and follow in your example and in your footsteps. Congratulations. I want to now introduce Fabio Zanini, who will present the General Symbiosis Award. Fabio was the first Early Career Symbiont Award winner for the work he did to share data on the evolution of the HIV genome. He's an extremely talented researcher, and I'm delighted that he will be presenting the General Symbiosis Award this year. I think that's very fitting when you see what the topic of the award is. Fabio?
Yeah, thank you for the kind introduction, Brian. Shall we move to the next slide is already the winner? Yeah.
Yep.
So it's a great pleasure to announce the 2021 General Symbiont Research Award is going to Professor Eddie Holmes, who is at the University of Sydney, and Professor Yangzhen Zhang at Fudan University in Shanghai for their work on SARS-CoV-2 genomics, and in particular for sharing with the world the first SARS-CoV-2 sequence in January 2020 via the portal biological.org. Yonjan and Eddie used to discover and share data on thousands of viruses at a time until, I suppose, a year ago. And many people still consider that kind of effort a rather obscure topic. Kind of remote RNA viruses were not considered by many to be a particularly interesting topic to share with other people. And yet the same attitude towards openness of data sharing and also to open discussion spaces like biological.org has greatly helped and continues to help our fight against COVID right now. So without further ado, Eddie and Yonjan, congratulations. And Eddie, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Fabio. Look, it's a great honor to receive this award. I do it on behalf of Professor Zhongzheng Zhang from Fudan. He can't be with us today, in part because it's very early in the morning in Shanghai. And not just him, but there were lots of people involved in the initial sequencing of the virus that we shared, particularly workers in the Wuhan CDC and Wuhan Central Hospital. So it's really on behalf of them that I accept this award. And look, it's extremely apt that I accept today, because it's actually almost exactly a year to the day that I shared the data online. Actually, in this office, I pressed send, and the sequence went global. And I don't need to explain to you the relevance of COVID-19. The fact we're all sitting here doing this remotely, I think, is and the whole world's been turned upside down in the last 12 months, just shows you that the world we're living in now. But the genome sequence, sharing that genome sequence, was really, I think, the start of the scientific fight back against the virus. And a lot's been written about this. I won't go into it in detail, but within sort of 2 days of that sequence going online freely on open access website that you could download with it's a click of a mouse, two companies, Pfizer and Moderna, used that sequence to design those vaccines, the ones rolled out. So quite extraordinary. And within sort of 10 days or so of that sequence going online, researchers used it to develop the first PCR test to diagnose infection. That was an absolutely critical moment. So sharing the sequence, this open access moment, really was just, it ignited the scientific response against the virus. And things have gone remarkably quickly following this. So it's obviously, I think an important moment. I think just more generally, I think it's not, to me, it's not, I spent a lot of this year thinking about what might happen next. How might we prevent the next pandemic? I hate to kind of scare you all, but we will get more of these things. So a lot of my mind has been devoted to trying to say, what can we do as scientists to prevent our worlds being turned upside down again by another infectious disease? And there will be lots of technical developments. You will see the rollout of mRNA vaccines. You'll see lots of new methods of screening, of surveillance of animals. That will all happen. But the number one thing, the absolute number one thing, is that scientists are able to talk to each other and share data as openly and freely and rapidly as possible. That is the number one thing that will save us from the next pandemic. And so the great thing about these symbiosis awards is they recognize that. That's what they're for, and that's what science needs to do to protect human society against future infectious diseases. So I accept this award really as a kind of, hopefully, a flag for what we need to do in the future, and that's to kind of, help our species flourish. And that really is share data as rapidly and openly as possible. And it's a simple take-home message from a very simple act. So I accept that graciously on behalf of my colleagues in China. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's hard to get one's head around the impact of the sharing of the SARS-CoV-2 genome. And, I just yesterday scheduled my second dose of the vaccine. And this is attributable to the fact that we knew what the genome was. And I am inspired by what you've done, and I'm grateful for what you've done. And thank you so much for joining us and for your comments. And so I want to congratulate both Lucas and Eddie for their awards and thank them for what they've done. And I also want to again thank our sponsors, the Wellcome Trust and the Dragon Master Foundation, for their support of the awards. And with that, I would like to turn the platform over to Kelly for the Research Parasite Awards. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm going to end screen sharing so that that Kelly can begin screen sharing.
Thanks very much. That's certainly a tough act to follow, but I will do my best. So now I'm going to present the Parasite Awards, which are the other side of the equation, celebrating rigorous secondary data analysis. And first, I'd like to just acknowledge the rest of the Parasite Award Selection Committee. So the chair, Julie Dunning-Hottop, was presided over things, and the rest of the committee, Raphael Irizarry, Zam Volkenbaum, Jason Moore, and I were all, I believe, previous winners of the Sustained Parasitism Award. And so Casey very thoughtfully organized the committee to allow for rotation of all the award winners on and off. And so the person who I announced today will be joining for the next rendition of the committee in 2022. So I'd also like to acknowledge the supporters of the award endowment who are partially responsible for this being a cash prize. So that they include Jeff Stiebel, Mr. and Mrs. Stephen Cannon, and as well as Anna and Casey Green. And we're always, of course, looking for more contributors. So you can email me if you would like to get involved in that capacity. And I'd like to thank our 2021 Parasite Award sponsors, which are our GigaScience and the journal Gigabyte. And these are our journals that are really devoted to the sort of ethos that we seek to recognize of quickly publishing open access, reproducible work. So the criteria for the Research Parasite Award include, of course, doing work on data that they were not involved in generating, publishing independently of the original investigators who produced the data. And we note that this could go in a lot of different directions. They might have extended, replicated, or even disproved what the original investigators posited. And one important criterion, though, is providing source code and intermediate or final results in a manner that enhances reproducibility. So the Junior Parasite Award and the Sustained Parasitism Award are the two categories of this. The junior one is given to a trainee based on work described in a single manuscript. They might now be an independent investigator, but they should not have been in that position for more than 2 years. The Sustained Parasitism Award, in contrast, is for an independent investigator who's been last or corresponding author on at least 3 qualifying manuscripts spanning a 5-year period. So the prizes, advertising for this session, I shared this photo of me holding up the prizes. They're this very exciting leather lamprey, which I'm borrowing the perfect wording from the website that it's a leather lamprey with a magnetic head that can be attached to ferromagnetic surfaces. And it also comes with this poor fish that has a little metal embedded in it. And you can't see the sort of colored wound on top of it where the lamprey attaches, but it's definitely the best prize I've ever received. But you also get, there's a $1,000 cash prize due to support from GigaScience and Gigabyte. That's pretty nice too, as well as $250 cash prizes for our honorable mentions. And we got a number of exciting submissions just showing how the parasitism community is alive and well. So it was quite nice to be able to award these honorable mentions as well. So speaking of, I'm just going to list them. So the first is Alexander Almeida of the European Bioinformatics Institute, being recognized for a paper on a new genomic blueprint of the human gut microbiota. A second honorable mention went to Catherine Shui of Stanford University for work on reconciling disparate estimates of viral genetic diversity during human influenza infections. A third honorable mention went to Munir Monaruza of Virginia Tech for the work on the dynamic evolution and complex virocell metabolism in globally distributed giant viruses. It is quite striking how these include 2 virus works show. So perhaps the data sharing in the virus community was pretty alive and well, even before the current crisis hit. Finally, we have a senior parasite honorable mention, Leslie Lancaster of the University of Aberdeen, for a trio of papers, one on that have to do with plants and climate change. So one is global variation in the thermal tolerances of plants, host use diversification during rain shifts shapes global variation in lepidopteran dietary breadth, and finally, widespread range expansions shape latitudinal variation in insect thermal limits. So now I'm going to announce the 2021 overall award for sustained parasitism. And that award goes to Dr. Jordi Paps of the University of Bristol. And I thought about how to summarize what Jordi is being recognized for, but I realized that I couldn't do any better than simply sharing what he wrote in his application letter for the parasite, which was not only informative, but highly amusing. As any honest to Darwin parasite, I started my career as a symbiont. During my PhD in Barcelona, I worked on the evolutionary relationships of the animal kingdom. He goes on to describe how starting as a research symbiont inspired him to become a parasite. And progressing through several stages of this toward an independent career. So maybe I'll turn things over to Jordi now to say a couple words.
Hello, thank you very much. I was concerned, I saw many typos there, and I got concerned you were going to go through the whole letter. So thank you very much for awarding me this prize. I wanted to say that I wanted to give thanks to all the researchers that have generated this data that I have been using in my research. As you and others have emphasized before, this is crucial to many of the research we do. So my area of research is evolutionary biology. I am interested in major transitions in evolution, things like the origin of the animal kingdom or plants, land plants, things like that. Those are events that happened hundreds of millions of years ago. And I am interested in knowing, in understanding the genomic basis of those big transitions. And of course, to do this, we need as much genomic data as possible. We need access to as many different taxa as it's possible. And it will be impossible to do this for a single lab or even for a consortium of labs. In the research in my lab comprises the analysis of hundreds of eukaryotic genomes. We have access to this data thanks to the openness of other researchers. Thanks to this kind of research, we can discover new things, like the role of novel genes in those big transitions. At a more personal level, I wanted to thank my wife, Sarah, for her unwavering support during my whole career. Also, all my mentors, Marta, Jaume, Iñaki, and Peter, who show me the importance of open science and open data. Importantly, my students, Cristina Guijarro and Alex Bowles, because that's the ultimate parasitic stage, no? In which now I'm getting this prize thanks to the work of not only to the data generated by other people, but thanks to the work done by younger minds. So thank you very much to the two of them. And finally, back to you. Thanks to the organizers for awarding me this prize. The money is very cool, really, but I really want the lamprey. So please send it my way.
Thanks very much. That's a fun parallel, bringing in the way we all parasitize our students in a way, though hopefully that becomes a mutualistic relationship.
Hopefully.
So now I'm going to announce the winner of the 2021 Junior Parasite Award, and that is Nicolás Nieto. He's a PhD student at Universidad Nacional del Litoral in Santa Fe, Argentina. And Nicolás is being recognized for a co-first authored paper titled "The Gender Imbalance in Medical Imaging Data Sets Produces Biased Classifiers for Computer-Aided Diagnosis." And just to summarize a little of why we recognize this with the award, basically the committee felt we got a lot of submissions of very impressive work that used data the way it was intended to be used when it was shared, but that this work just unquestionably was doing something important that probably the people who uploaded medical scan data for sharing would not have thought of when they originally decided to do this data sharing. That with the aid of artificial intelligence, Nicolás and his collaborators were able to show the existence of I'll sort of put read the ending sentence of this abstract. They raised an alarm for national agencies in charge of regulating and approving computer-assisted diagnosis systems, which should include explicit gender balance and diversity recommendations. That basically, if you use an automatic classifier to try and diagnose based on scan data and only train it on men, it perhaps won't perform as well as it needs to perform on women. So I'll turn it over to Nicolás now to say a few words.
Thank you, Kelly, for this kind introduction, and thank you all for this amazing award. I'm really happy and excited about it. I would like to thank the selection committee and the Parasite Award organization. I would also like to thank the sponsor for the prize. For me, this is a totally shared recognition because this publication was the end of a fantastic joint work with some amazing people that I had the chance to work with: Agostina Larrazábal, Victoria Peterson, Diego Milone, and Enzo Ferrante, all from Argentina, and my entire institute. I'm just a few words about this work. We show the impact of gender imbalance on the computer-assisted diagnosis that use deep learning. We generate more than 2,000 experiments using two different public available datasets: the NIH Checks Ray 14 and the Chexpert dataset that was released by Stanford. And having this available datasets was the core for this work. So I'm really glad to be part of this awesome and diverse group of people. I think that more diversity is needed to address a fair science, especially in the machine learning community. And finally, I don't want to miss the opportunity to mention the great Argentinian public education system that I'm very happy to be part of for almost 20 years now, and the public scientific system too that I'm really proud of being part of. So I'm really joyful. This recognition is a fuel for go on in these complex years. So I want to thanks again to the Parasite organization, and nothing else. Thank you all and stay safe.
Oh, thanks very much, Nicolás. So with that, I'd just like to thank all the research parasites who submitted work to the 2021 cycle. Like I mentioned, there was so much fantastic work that that we got exposed to just having the privilege of judging. And I'd also just like to thank all my fellow selection committee members and the past and future ones as well. Gigasciences and all contributors to Endowment. And just please keep your eye on the competition website. Apply for the 2022 awards this summer, or nominate someone else who is eligible and deserving.
Excellent. Thank you, Kelly. That was really, really wonderful. And on behalf of the Research Symbiont Awards Committee, I would also like to just say thank you to everybody who has helped make these awards possible. Thank you to Casey Green for setting up this broadcast. And I'd like to congratulate the winners of the Symbionts as well as the Parasites, and thank the sponsors as well. Thank you all very much. And we hope you will apply for a Symbiont Award, and if applicable, a Parasite Award. And we hope to see you next year.